Okay, story time. This is quite relevant, and I didn't think this was going to come out for this conversation, but February 29th, 2020, me and my partner flew to Thailand. We were going to spend 7 days in a silent retreat with 80 other people. It was a Buddhist retreat. It's something we wanted to do for a long time. However, the COVID pandemic was flirting around at that point. It was starting to pop into the news, but I was firmly in my rebellious stage of my life. I still am. And we decided to go anyway. We weren't allowed to have any form of technology with us, not even a watch. We weren't allowed pen and paper. We weren't allowed a book, nothing. The only thing we did was get up at 4:15 in the morning, lots of meditation, lots of talks from the monks and the teachers. We were doing chores, cleaning toilets, this kind of thing. And day 2, day 3, I think was kind of the withdrawals kicking in. I thought I was going a little bit crazy because I had all this sort of stimulation taken away from me, this sort of normal life of being on my phone all the time and on social media. But I didn't die. I'm still here. And the point of the story is that when we finished, we were allowed to talk again, and the main sort of leader said, "Okay, the turd has hit the propeller outside, and you might need to figure out how you're going to get home because the world's on fire." We're like, "Okay, what could possibly happen in 7 days?" So bear in mind, we've been completely disconnected from the entire world, and we go back to our hotel. And we didn't put our phones on at first. We were kind of letting ourselves have an hour or two before tapping into this monstrosity. And we started looking at the news, and we couldn't figure it out. Okay, because the world's been on fire for a week, and we were like 7 or 8 days into this fire. So the news that we were looking at was on the assumption that everybody had been following the news, right? So I had to leave our hotel, and I walked into a bar, and I sat down next to a German couple. I had to explain my situation. I said, "Could you tell me what's happening here? Like, I have no idea. I'm watching the news. I just can't figure this out. It's complete mayhem here." And yeah, of course, yeah, we figured it out. We get back home, but being connected to this online world is you've got to be very careful, because you are going to get sucked around, pulled around. It's not the real world. Yeah, even the conversations that we're having here, this is nice, but it's not. It's still a little bit virtual. We can't luckily smell each other. It would be nice if we could be in a room together, but yeah, the lesson from this is, be careful where you're investing your time. Be careful watching the news, because it's not going to really fulfill your needs. It's not really very empowering. We need to be close together with other human beings, having real conversations.
I think that's the key of it. I will name check Jonathan Frost, a friend and colleague of ours, who says that what we need around us in order to be able to deal with the coming mayhem, which we will skirt around for Erika's benefit, are storytelling, community and connection. And it's okay to have community and connection online, but Daniel, you just said it, in the space of a week of being disconnected from the constant sort of infotainment news that we have, you can become so out of touch. And there is a danger, because where do you then get trusted information? And I'm not suggesting the internet is trustworthy information. I'm thinking, who do you go and ask? I mean, cultural stereotypes aside, with COVID going on, I'm surprised the German couple actually spoke to you and didn't beat you off with a metre-long stick. Because, Gaby will talk to the rule keeping of the German nation. So, there is danger. There's danger in me feeling like the people in the hotel who I've got to know by name over the last 10 days, that it's superficial connection. It isn't the deep kind of stuff that we all share. I think what's haunting me in this conversation at the moment is it too late? Is it too late for me to make those kind of connections in the real world? And I guess we could sort of look at that as closing thoughts.
It's only too late when we're on our deathbed. I firmly believe that nothing is ever too late until the last day. That's it. I think it's the balance again which comes up for me. The balance. There's not being informed. There's watching too much news where you worry all day over things which never happen because it's all future predicting nowadays. The news rather than news what happens or what happened. So it's the balance again. But when I listened to you all talk, and then Erika said, "Well, what if I would miss you all if the internet would go." The first thought came into my head, and I think this is my closing thought. I want to exchange addresses, physically addresses with you, so I can find you in case, and I can send you an old-fashioned letter.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I think that's a fantastic idea because as we're talking, I'm definitely still in the grief of what we're talking about, right? Like, so the news is one thing, and everybody knows I don't give a shit. I don't watch the news. I don't want to talk about the news. I don't want to talk about politics, conspiracy theories, none of it. It's a epic waste of my time because there's nothing I can do, and it can put me down a rabbit hole, right? So not too much time on that, but the connection is where it's at for me. And it's sort of like a double-edged sword here because it's like, I know now I've seen the light. Like, I know it's possible to have deep, meaningful connections with people who support you, who love you, who want the best for you, who are honest with you, who can tell you off, but still love you. Like, there's none of all of that normal stuff that you have, right? So I know it can happen. Try to find it in real life, and it's really hard to. It's evasive. Like, it's just not there. So there's that feeling of longing, wanting that in real life, but knowing, okay, I'm not going to get it here, so it is what it is. But I have it over there, and then it's the damn. I wish they were closer. Like, I wish they were here, so we could go get lunch or like sit around the fire and have a chat because I'm really longing for that. So it's a real deep sadness because when we do meet in person, it's like this is. And then when you have to separate again, it's that, oh my God, I missed them. So if I ever lost connection long term, I would be devastated. Like, that's a full disclosure. I would be in periods of mourning for sure if I couldn't have this anymore because it's all about that for me. And I definitely agree with that, switching the address, like swapping addresses so that we can, find you if I have to. Like, if the internet decides to go out forever, I need to get my ass on a plane and find you so that this can keep going. Because I don't think that I'd be able to handle it suddenly before it has to happen. That's my closing thought.
So, Alec, if your internet ever goes for a week, you suddenly have at least 4 people standing in front of the door.
Oh, for sure. We'd have to have a search party out for Alec at that point because he needs a chaperone wherever he goes anyway. So somebody's got to find him. We need to put an air tag on him so that we know where he is.
Most recent.
No internet air tag wouldn't
Oh shit! See, no good. Thanks for that.
In recent years, in the last 10 or 20 years, we some of us put an ICE in our contact list in case of emergency, right? But for Alec, or maybe even moving forwards into the future, our new ICE could just be our own address. In case of emergency, I live here.
Mm-hmm. If found, return to.
The one cool thing that I have to say is the connections here. When you have deep conversation with people, whether it's online, in person, right? More in person, I should say, is separate. So we'll stay focused online. When you meet in person, it does not change. You just, you have an added layer of the connection, the hug, the smell, the touch, the whatever, you know what I mean? And it just adds that next layer. But everything else, you have the foundation of everything else that's there, and it's no different. It's the same. It's beautiful. It's great. You know, it's just that added layer. And that's been my experience, and I love that part of it. So I definitely like the added layer, the in-person piece, more than depending on a connection and stuff like that. Internet connection, I should say. Yeah.
You know, we started off today's recordings, and I sort of made maybe poor taste joke about the cult, but you know, Brett and Erica have spoken before about having a compound where all of our ecology buddies can go and live and hang out. And I mean, that really is a cult. You know, you buy a compound with big fences to to keep other people out. Yeah, but Brett, you're so right. I mean, you know, four of us in this room have physically met, and um, you know, it, yes, it deepened the friendships, but there was no difference. You know, Daniel, we are all intending to come and interrail from the Netherlands down to one of our other friends in Hungary. So, you know, we may drag you kicking and screaming along on that. But, you know, I thank God, source, spirit, however you know that, for you people, and for having you and having these connections in my life. And yeah, we should all definitely exchange addresses immediately that this recording's over.
I'm just going to say this quick, that I think the missing element, the thing that makes this different, right? When you know it's a genuine connection and not like a dangerous kind of thing that the internet can sometimes pose, like catfishing and all of that, is that if the connection did go down, it doesn't immediately equate to, well, there goes that person. Like, you know, like we sometimes experience that where it's like, if I do this or don't talk to you, you're not going to be my friend anymore. I know in the pit of my everything that if internet went out and we couldn't do this the way we do, it's not gonna, we're not written off. It's like that connection is still there. It's still there. It's just I'm not able to reach you just yet. I have to book I can't even book a fucking airline ticket if the internet goes down. I have to actually call someone. God forbid. I have to get on the phone. The connection is real. And I think that's the danger, because some connections out there are not real. And that's where the discernment comes, and where being mindful of what you're doing comes in with the internet. That's all I have to say.
Do you know, it's a scary thing that Brett, you and Brett, I'm not sure what an AirTag is, but you know, apparently it wouldn't work without internet. You've just highlighted the difficulties we would have, you know, physically, being able to book an airline ticket, and more and more people are saying, you know, AI is going to replace people. You know, when you go into a certain website and, you know, it's actually an AI chat you have and you end up buying your bike. Yes, this is a true story. Without ever actually speaking to a person, because it gave you all the advice that you needed, etc. So society has actually dismantled a great deal of the infrastructure that we would need in order to go back into being able to make physical phone calls, speak to a person, even the systems. You think about computers and stuff, how many of them are connected into, you know, like, I don't know, I'm not a technical person, but clouds and servers and all these other bits and pieces. And you know, if some technological thing wiped out the internet, it's likely that it would wipe out these other things. So where's all that data gone? Where's everything about us that isn't currently backed up? So I'm going to suggest we carry on. We'll split this conversation where Daniel said storing and carry on. So other things, what we talked about this once before about the things that younger generations don't realise that they lost. Like the ringtone, the busy tone, and stuff like that. What is there that you would need to resurrect in your life were technological items out of the window? I mean, stuff like Netflix binging, would people return to reading like we used to in the old days, or knitting, crocheting?
I think it's fair to say that when there's a will, there's a way, and we are going to do whatever it takes to have our needs met. And I don't think it would take too long for us to figure that out. Even
Yeah.
people who have never used the old traditional methods, it wouldn't take very long to figure out, hey, if we sit around a fire and we have a conversation, that this feels amazing.
Actually, you know what? I actually have already examples where the younger generation is giving out that the older generation is too much on the phone. I actually have examples where the teenagers are less on the phone than the grandfather at 60 or 70. So I think it will go around. It will go around. And with AI as well, it's exciting now, and people go and use all this stuff and whatever. There will be a time where people just go, you know what? I'm going to the pub and listen to real musicians playing the instruments because I know it's not AI. I'm going to the theater and see some real actors doing a play, and I know it's not a movie where the actors are AI. They will treasure that again because they will get sick of the other stuff. I'm convinced that will happen.
Well, I think we learn from the other generations, don't we? And the first generation that is introduced to something that could trap them, or something new, they might get pulled into it, but over time, the younger generation might look at them and think, "Hey, that doesn't actually work. I'm not going to do that." So that might be, if we're talking about social media, for example, I would say that there are starting to become younger people who are not interested in it. I mean, that's already been happening, but I think it's a contrast, isn't it? I think it's a bit of a split. You're going to have the group that are actually even more immersed in it, but then you're also going to have the other half which say, "Hey, you know what? I don't like this at all. This is stupid." It's a bit like the smoking cigarettes thing. You kind of have a generation of a lot of smokers, and then so everybody said, "Okay, I don't want to smoke because that's disgusting," and the smokers come back.
Yeah, I'm excited for the contrast, because when you have that contrast, the next new thing comes in, because they figure something out. Somebody figures something out, and then there's a new piece that comes in, and it could be better, it could be worse, it could be, but it's something, right? So I've that's the one thing I've always observed. Like, you might have something, call it good, bad, or indifferent, right? Once you have people that start going away from it a little bit, all of a sudden you get that new piece, something new that comes in a different way, and then it serves, and you use that piece to grow from, and it either stay or it'll drop off quick. But it's just that noticing of how things move and shift, and it's okay. Like, you know what I mean? Is there's a reason for the shift, and everything's gonna be okay. Let's, you know what I mean? Stick with it. We'll all come back together, knowing that in our knowledge, in our hearts, that it's all gonna come back in just another way. So I don't know. There's something with that piece, and connections. I think is going to be a great conversation for one of our next get-togethers here, because how real are your connections with the people in your life? How deep are your conversations, or are they surface? Like, where does your life bring you? Around people that are very open and supportive, and you can share anything, or is it very shallow and surfacey? And how many, where do you feel comfortable, kind of thing? It's pretty cool. So yeah,
I
it was
have
a
a,
great
So
conversation.
sorry, Brett.
No, I was just
So
saying
we
it was a great.
started this episode, which is now 2 episodes, um, talking about how loss of internet affect us, and it's brought us round quite adroitly the way Brett just put it about communication and its importance, and the reality of raw, honest, true human contact. So, closing thoughts on maybe that, um, and a bit of a primer and teaser for a future episode. How do we, or what do we want in our physical relationships, the depth of honesty and rawness that we found we can have online? Uh,
Yeah, it's a question of our experiences. I mean, I'm taken aback when you say you cannot find that in your physical environment, because I can, right? And I mean, if I would be living next door to you, would we have been connecting like this or not? You know what I'm saying? I'm bamboozled. Why do we find building connections in the real world so difficult, and finding these people so difficult if we can online? Does that make sense? I'm bamboozled.
I think it's so easy to hide behind a facade online, isn't it? Real life is it's a little bit raw, isn't it? I think a lot of people don't like to. I don't think a lot of people don't like to be out in out in the wild, if you like. Really, I think people aren't used to it.
I think
Even
that would make an interesting episode, actually, to talk about that, because I find it intriguing.
well, if you think about somewhere, I remember this is about 15 years ago. I was walking the streets of London, and this woman, as she was walking past me, a bottle of water fell out of her shopping bag, and I immediately grabbed it and I tried to get her attention, and she looked back at me and she hissed. She was like annoyed that I had even tried to get her attention. So that's a bit like the, it's a bit like the online world. There's so many people that there's so much going on that you can kind of just do what you want. There's no repercussions. And really, on the busy streets of London, there's not really any repercussions either. But if you're in a community of 6 people and you do something that is perhaps a little bit poor, like maybe not very good behavior, then there's going to be repercussions, and that's scary. So I just think a lot of us don't have. I don't speak for myself, but I know a lot of people have struggles socializing and being in the world, in the open world.
I this goes back, like this could really, because this is like some old stuff, right? That comes to play for me specifically, because I did have a group of people who I thought I was close with and all of that, and things happened and I no longer speak to any of them. So in that process, my own growth took place. I had to really examine what my role was in that group dynamic, and I have a certain level, I have certain standards, I guess, around what a deep connection really means to me, and if it's reciprocal or not, because I do have certain people locally that are friends, right? Like I would consider them friends, but not in the context of these are my people friends, but they're friends. Like we could hang out together, we can have social get dinner, they can come over, like definitely do that kind of thing. And we have fun. But if I was in crisis, am I calling one of them? No, that's not happening. So for me, I probably would be somebody that they call if they need something. So because I show up the same way, like I'm there, but I'm not reaching out to them. So that's my definition of connection. It has to feel reciprocal to me, where I know I can and want to. I think it speaks to something in me. Obviously, there's a trust factor there, that I don't trust that they're going to hold me the way that I want to be held. And I don't mean physically, but like if I need somebody to hold space for me, I don't know that they're going to be able to do it the way that I have come accustomed to being held, like with people like you. I don't know if that makes any sense, but and I definitely don't lean more to the outgoing, bubbly, hey, everybody, be my friend. I'm more like, stay away from me, because I need to discern. I need time. Like I'm not just immediately opening up and everybody's my friend. I'm actually the one that's like, everybody doesn't have to be my friend, and I'm okay with that, because I take friendship super seriously, because I show up to my friendships fully. And I've been burned in the past where friends have not done the same for me, and they've actually sort of abandoned me. So I think that's part of why I said that.
I hear what you're saying, and I'm having a flashback to our episode on misanthropy. And Gaby and Brett have both said in this conversation that they can find the depth and the connection outside. And it's out of I'm not excluding you, Daniel, but you weren't in that conversation. It was you and I, Erika, who were saying it's only online that I found the realness and trueness of the connections that I want to have. And it just echoes to me that conversation. The people persons, Brett and Gaby, are quite confident that without Tinterweb, they'd have community, trust. And you and I are both saying, I think I might end up being a loner in a cabin.
I will say, since Brett and I are partners, I found it in him. Like, we have that kind of deep connection where we can hold space with each other. But as far as friendship, and even like, you hear it say like females need other females, like that kind of thing. Like I have groups, but they're nobody that really would, I don't know. Like I don't trust it. I guess that's a whole other freaking story. Don't get me started. I just don't have that belief that it's going to feel as nourishing for me as it might feel for them.
Thank you, everybody. We will bring this one to a close. And I just want to thank Daniel again for joining us. And his details, like the rest of us, will be down in the comment section and the description. And you can get in touch with any of us that way using the internet. We're not putting our addresses there. Just because we're sharing them doesn't mean that you're all getting them. Don't want a bunch of weirdos standing up. And we will see you at some point in the future where we will no doubt get more into something like this. See you all again soon.